again, as we come on air, the government has told all Britons travelling abroad to come home.
Slight change of scenery today because we are back in the UK. At the time of making our video about going into quarantine in Malaysia, the situation with the coronavirus wasn't too bad, and we sort of figured that we could wait it out. Turns out we were very wrong. We'd heard the rumours last Monday that the UK was going to go into lockdown, so we decided to wait up because obviously there's like an 8-hour time difference. So it got to like 1:30 in the morning, waiting for Boris Johnson's speech about going into lockdown, when we heard the news that they were urging all people abroad to come home. So we knew that when we heard that news, we were going to make the decision to come back. We could have stayed in Malaysia because it wasn't exactly in order, but it felt like the right thing to do, especially if we were going to be there for months on end. There we were, 2 AM on what was now Tuesday morning, trying to find the quickest way home. By this point, the flights to get home that same day had already gone up to about $1,500, and that was going to take about 50 hours with like 2 layovers. This is the flight that's coming up for tomorrow. That's £547 to go from Kuala Lumpur into Newcastle, 2 layovers, 50 hours to get home. So I won't lie, there was a bit of stress, there was a bit of panic, so we didn't know what was going to happen, whether we were going to turn up to the airport and there was going to be no flights at all, or whether we were going to get lucky. Clearly we got lucky because here I am. Okay, so after much stress, we are now booked onto a Malaysia Airlines flight for the 25th, which is tomorrow. A straight flight straight to London, which hopefully won't pose too many problems. Fingers crossed anyways. The weirdest thing that we found when looking for flights was that a lot of them were offering layovers in places like Hong Kong, and I'm pretty sure you can't do that at the moment. We pretty much spent Tuesday then just packing everything up and trying to figure out the best way to make the journey home. So we ended up leaving our apartment on Tuesday and booking into an airport hotel. And we didn't really know if there was going to be taxis available that early in the morning on the day of our flight, so we decided just to get as near to the airport as possible. I think of another time where you'd see Kuala Lumpur looking this quiet. All the roads are just completely empty, which is strange because that's completely different to what we've been seeing. So when we got to the hotel, you had to fill out a health declaration form to check where you'd been in the last 14 days and give them some contact details just in case anything was to happen. Luckily, we have not been phoned so far, so hopefully we're all okay. But that was sort of the procedure we had to go through. So it is coming up to midnight and we have a flight tomorrow morning at 9:05, so we're probably going to have to leave here about 6 o'clock just to make sure that we get through check-in okay. We are right at the airport, so hopefully everything will go smoothly. The only problem is that I haven't received a booking confirmation for our flight yet, so we just need to hope that that comes through soon, or they just have a record of the fact that we've bought flights. Because they're now about double the price. That was it. We got to bed at about 11, got up about 5:30 in the morning, ready to go to the airport. Which, you know, was all going fine until we went to a front desk and realised that we were in the completely wrong terminal. And the lady was like, it's fine, you just need to get on a train to the next terminal. And at that point it was just sheer panic because we'd already left it quite late to get to this flight anyways. So we had to like run down to this underground, get on the train, and hope that we were going to make the flight basically. But we didn't know what the situation was going to be at the airport. We didn't know whether there was going to be queues out of the door of people trying to get home, or whether it was going to be completely dead. And luckily it turned out to be the latter. Everywhere was absolutely empty. There was no duty free open, none of the cafes were open. We basically just wandered straight through, got to a check-in desk, checked straight in, and were straight through to the gate. I figured that people would probably be interested in how many checks we went through from leaving Malaysia to arriving in London. It was 1. This has possibly been the easiest check-in that we have ever had, which is, I don't know whether that's good or worrying.
I don't know really.
We had 1 temperature check going through to the check-in desks, and that was it. There was no questions about where we'd been in the last 14 days. I don't know whether that's because it's now at a point where things are so serious everywhere that it doesn't really matter where you've been in the last 14 days, but absolutely nothing like that. When we got to the gate, you could tell that things had changed quite dramatically. There was a lot of people stood around in hazmat suits, in full goggles, and if people couldn't get hazmat suits, they were there in rain ponchos. Just absolutely anything to stop them from picking up any sort of germs. And I was sort of panicking a little bit, thinking we've got these like little masks on that we were given by the taxi driver the night before. I just wasn't convinced that we were doing as much as other people to protect ourselves. And even when we were waiting to board, when you actually had the opportunity to spread out from other people, a lot of people weren't. A lot of people were crowded around the seating areas, all stood in the same place. The gate is open and look at the rush of everybody. Absolutely no social distancing at all. And thank God the flight was pretty easy. We got on, everything went nice and smoothly. We landed in Heathrow like an hour and a half earlier than what was planned. We watched some films, got some sleep, and then we arrived in London about 2:30. Touchdown in London Heathrow. Now we just need to do probably the hardest part of the journey, which is trying to figure out how to get back to Sheffield. The plane was the easy part. I should note that at this point we had absolutely no idea how we were going to get home from London. Obviously no one could come and pick us up, which is quite sad because it wasn't the whole arrival I was expecting. The only other option was to get the train, so we just had to hope for the best and make sure we could stick as far away from people as possible. And luckily there was absolutely no problem with that because the whole journey home was so quiet. We got to the tube station and I had to check with the staff that the tube was still running because everything was so quiet. This is definitely the most eerie part of the day. Like, I think I've been on the underground like 4 or 5 times, but I've never ever seen it completely empty like this. This is really strange. It's sort of like wondering if the trains are going to turn up at all. Luckily the tubes were still running fine, but our carriage was pretty much empty the entire way, bearing in mind that to get from London Heathrow all the way to King's Cross station, it's about an hour and at least 10-15 stops to get there. For the majority of that time we had nobody around us. For the majority of that time we had no one in our carriage. Wow, look at all these people getting on this tube. We managed to move the bags off the chair in a minute, babe. It's not going to be enough room for everyone. And then King's Cross station was even stranger because I've only ever seen that when it's been super busy. And when we arrived there was probably 6 or 7 people looking at the board and that was about it. I don't know why, but I didn't expect King's Cross station to be this quiet. We waited like an hour for our train, and then when we went to get on the train was completely empty. How many carriages is this train? Yeah, 10 carriage train. And currently it's like, what, 10 minutes until this train leaves? There is nobody else on this carriage. We had a sandwich and crisps picnic on the train home. Arrived in Doncaster, and of course our train was delayed in Doncaster. Absolutely everything that could have gone wrong in our 26-27 hour journey back to Sheffield. Of course it was Northern Rail that went wrong. It was just going to happen. Off the London train and into Doncaster, and it is freezing cold. We've taken like a 20 degrees temperature drop. I have to think that we've been used to like 35 degrees, and when we got into Doncaster station it was what, like 10 degrees. It was so cold, and we just wanted to get home by that point. We were on like hour 24 of travelling by that time. What do I look like? This is what it's come to. The time is 8:25. A little bit tired, are we? Good news is the train arrives, so this is our last train, and then we're basically back. Yeah. Anyways, we finally arrived in Sheffield station and jumped in a cab, which is when I remembered how much more expensive cabs here are compared to abroad. And now here we are in an Airbnb in Sheffield. We're now basically just waiting out here for 14 days to make sure that we have no symptoms before we can go home. My mum's been bringing us food because we're not allowed to go to the shops, we're not allowed to go out for the walks like everybody else has. And we're just confined to these walls for the next 14 days, just hoping for the best. So far we are fine, and I've got a feeling we are going to be completely fine. It's just a little bit strange now being home but not being able to see our families yet. As for our next trip, we have a few ideas, but I'm not going to let on to anything just yet because knowing us, we will change our minds about 3 or 4 times. So yeah, that's the update for now. We are back in the UK. I'm gonna go now because Adam's got the oven warmed up for some food and I am here whittling on, so I'm gonna leave this for now. Bye!